Let's just talk.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Self-Love Summit podcast. And welcome, Sharon.
So great to be back, Wendy. So great to be back.
Really looking forward to today because I don't know about you, but this is something that has been coming up quite often for me, and I've recently been in group encounters or meetings, events where this has been something that's been prevalent, and that is the old imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but we're gonna unpack this a little bit more. But I think the whole thing with imposter syndrome is that it comes down to our self-love and self-acceptance, but it also comes down to truth. And that is that in order, I don't know about you, but in order for me to be doing the work that I do and working with people, and I really am very conscious of the fact that we work in a space of mental health.
Yes.
And so, we have to be really understanding our own shit and walking our talk before we can, really affect change on others.
Totally. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And it's a do as I do, not as I say. Like, let's not preach it. Let's live it.
Absolutely not. It really is about, I think for me, it's more about having walked the line first and being able to share with you the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. Yep. Because that's life.
It is. Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
If you're going to say that you've got it all together and that you've never had those experiences or things have never gone to shit for you before, then that is a lack of truth. Because the lack of truth is that everyone is going to encounter some form of ugliness in their lives.
Yeah. Look, even as we talked about in our last podcast, didn't we? We talked about, how we need to look at our actually being present in our lives.
And, to a large degree, we are never going to grow unless we have those events happen that then allow us the experience, the wisdom to help others.
Yes.
And, and I know that, what I witnessed is that people, what I call rounding the corners, is they want to keep this nice, beautiful little unicorn container where there's never any conflict, that they're very intellectual and they know everything because it came out of a book.
Yeah.
But it's not lived. And so there's never any conflict or tension that helps them to grow and expand. And I always say that we are like tea bags. You never know how strong you are until you put into hot water.
That's exactly
and that's right. Where your core foundations of who you are and how you cope and what you do. Wayne Dyer always says, squeeze a lemon and see what comes out. Squeeze an orange and see what comes out. Because if you squeeze an orange, lemon juice is not going to come out.
No. And
we can't expect that to be what happens in our lives. Like if there's something that's going on with us, then we need to, and especially now, there's always going to be something that will arise. But it's the difference between reacting and responding.
Yes.
And I think that, how we respond is an indication of our experience, our wisdom, our learning, our, what growth work we've done ourselves. Yeah.
Totally agree. I totally agree. And I think I can't actually speak for having imposter syndrome, but I'm sure at times throughout my life I have. But I used to work with a girl that literally was professionally diagnosed as having imposter syndrome. And it was because this was my own opinion of it. Not the medical term. This is just a Sharon Schmidt intuitive soul's opinion, diagnosis. I felt that it was because she was in a space that she was forced into. So there was a restructure and she landed that job and she really didn't want it. She didn't have the passion there. She wasn't interested in it. And for her to get that interest was not impossible. It was quite an easy task for her to do. But again, she was not in love with doing that. And so the fear kept creeping in on her that she couldn't do it until she actually believed that she couldn't do it. And then I came in and I was doing the job, and I had unfortunately, people had said to her how good I was compared to her, which then just destroyed her confidence
and reinforced her feelings of lack.
Exactly. Yeah. And I actually became good friends with her because I felt sad that she was actually going on that journey of feeling not, well, basically it was a journey of not good enough, which is what you touched on earlier.
Yeah. And you know, when it is that not good enough, I'm unworthy, I'm undeserving, like you know,
someone's better than me,
I'm
judging
incapable.
myself.
How many people have that I'm incapable?
Yeah.
You know, in the corporate life, I had a lot of resumes come across my desk for different positions. And there's this old saying, you would have come across it as well, fake it until you make it.
Oh, totally. I often say that sometimes.
And the whole thing is that we have to embody who we want to be in all of its glory. Because I still believe that no matter what we do in life, whether you're a parent and it's about being a parent, whether as being a daughter, whether it's being a wife, whether it's being in business, whether it's being, you know, on a sporting team, it's about your posture. Now, your posture is about, to a certain degree, your confidence in yourself.
Yes, totally.
But assuming that role, and so when you've done the, like, you know, if we're looking at no matter what it is, if you've done the educational part of it, if you're not, and I don't mean you have to go and get a formal bloody degree, because I don't believe that all the things that are taught in those institutions are necessarily what's good for the people who are going to be the recipients of that institutional learning.
Not just that, we may be given, and it's even like in a lot of the courses and the qualifications that you and I have both learned, we're given an outline and we're given a direction as to how we're meant to learn it and teach it. However, every person is an individual, and they will all, you and I both have done similar things in training, but we both deliver them very differently.
Yeah, it's about our personal interpretation.
It's about our posture. Good work. I like that as well. I'm going to use that too.
And it's about, so in that personal interpretation, you're bringing your interpretation from your lived experiences, from your wisdom, from how that's affected you in your, and you know, you can't go past a lived experience as being
totally
the yardstick for how you can understand something.
I love lived experience. To me, that it's very undervalued.
Yeah. And you know, that practical versus the intellectual.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. At the end of the day, you can be as intellectual as you like. And I'm not disrespecting anyone that's a very intellectual person. However, trying to then turn that into something that is useful in everyday life can be much more challenging.
Well, I'm going to take it back to, I've had an experience in a yoga class where someone was absolutely able to, you know, nail every single asana, you know, pardon me, from a point of view where technically the execution of that asana was perfect, but what they didn't get was that in that process, that doing something so technically perfect was about the rigidity of the intellect. I need to do this, absolutely. You know, if I'm going to do a back bend, it's got to be exactly like this, and not allowing the soul and the whole,
to bring their own,
to really feel into the mindfulness of that, and to go within and to soften that rigidity versus the softness. And that's, I think, where the imposter syndrome is. That's the fear, is to do something so, and that's the perfectionism. That's needing to be absolutely perfect. And you know what, perfect is not something that anyone is.
No,
we're all perfectly imperfect.
And just because you're perfect at that, you'll be finding that you're imperfect at something else. So, and that's just really relevant to a comment that was said to me the other day. They said, and this person's very dear to me and I respect their opinion, but I also bounced back when they said, I noticed that you've been putting a lot of this stuff up and you've obviously just been doing it ad hoc, because I'd noticed a couple of spelling mistakes. And I said, well, you know what? If I waited for that to be perfect, like you, it wouldn't be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was actually quite shocked with his comment, with my comment, because he goes, yeah, you're right. I would have waited until it was perfect before I put it up. And then by then the moment would have passed.
So the imposter syndrome stops us from being all that we can be.
Absolutely.
Because it's a stall. It's a stall towards that perfectionism.
Yeah.
And because we're waiting for it to be perfect before we start, and then we never start. And so the imposter syndrome, or the lack of self-confidence, plummets even further.
Yes.
And has us in a downward spiral, instead of us just being able to go out there and give from ourselves so willingly that it doesn't matter if there's a spelling mistake, if there's a color that's off key, if there's maybe there's a something that you didn't nail to the degree that you wanted to nail in your message, in the value that you're giving. But ultimately, it's about having the confidence to be able to know that what you're delivering is right.
It's about having a go.
Yeah.
It's really just about having a go.
Yep.
And I was having this discussion yesterday, actually, at lunch with some girlfriends, and we were talking about how, it would just be easier for me to return to the corporate world if anytime I wanted to, anytime I'd had enough of my business, like just pack up, pack shop and return to the corporate world if that's what I felt I needed, because I wouldn't have all of this other stuff where I'm continually every day, one, putting myself out there, but two, and when you're putting yourself out there, you're putting yourself out there for people to criticize you.
Yeah.
And so you have to be really careful as to what of that you take on. But more importantly, in my idea is, if I'm not putting myself out there, I'm not growing. I'm not learning.
Yeah, but, we go back to one of Louise's philosophies, is what you give out, you get back. So if you're going to be reluctant to give in the first place, how can you ever get anything back?
That's right.
And that's what it is. The imposter syndrome is just a stall. It's a sabotage. It's something that's going to, because it doesn't matter. I'm talking more from a business point of view, like from, the soulpreneur, the spiritual space that we all, the mental well-being that is the businesses that I work with.
Yep. Same. I did the same.
Is all about the fact that there's not that willingness or to put, when the imposter syndrome is that bad, the lack of self-confidence is such that just, you might have, I don't care who it is, but you may have just that one little gem that is meant to hit the ears of someone on that particular day, because nothing is not, everything's by design. And so for you to go out there on that one particular day and put that post up, that live up, that work with someone, have the conversation in, it might be a face-to-face conversation that you have in the travel, in your daily travels, but that little gem was meant to hit those ears, and you don't know just how positive effect that has had on someone. And I think that when we've got to get over ourselves. Ultimately, that's one of the things that is a really, really positive thing that we can take out of it, is that we just got to get over ourselves, and we've got to not give a shit of what people think of us, and And, are we limiting ourselves because of the fear of what other people will think? That's really emphasizing the belief of not being good enough, of not being worthy enough, of not being perfect, of not being capable of all of those things. And that's ultimately not where we're at. That's because, where we're at right now, like we've said in, last week's podcast, was that we really are, we are in times of really fast manifesting. So everything that's happening, even the imposter syndrome, everything is what is happening between this 6 inches of space between these ears, and it's only a thought, and a thought can be changed.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And I hope you can actually hear me, because I am having a few microphone problems here.
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
Wonderful, because I'm getting all these messages on my screen telling me that my microphone has changed and all sorts of stuff's going on. So thankfully it is working. Hopefully everybody out there can hear me as well. Imposter syndrome, it's a very real thing, unfortunately, for those that actually suffer from it. If you are out there and you are suffering from it, I just really encourage you to work with somebody where you can build your self-esteem, where you can actually start looking at yourself in a very different light, because life is filled with unlimited possibilities, and you can actually do anything if you really set your mind to it. So if you're thinking that you can't, well, that's a thought that can be changed. That's a thought that can be taken away and removed. You can erase it, let it go, and change that for the thought that you actually can do this and you're not an imposter. And just put your heart and soul.
Those words, whether you think you can or you can't, either way, you're right. I can't think whose quote that is, but that to me was, going back 20 years, that was like a real slap in the face. Whether I think I can, I'm right. And if I think I can't, I'm right too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's, it is very much, it's about the self. It's about self-responsibility. It's about self-belief. It's about, understanding where those beliefs have come from and making different choices.
Yes, absolutely. Making different choices for yourself, where you're not putting yourself down, you're not judging yourself, you're not comparing yourself to others. That's a really dangerous one.
Yeah, the old competitiveness.
Yes.
Yeah. What you were saying was right, is, if you are in that place where you're encountering imposter syndrome, to have a coach. But what I found too is that you have to be open when you've got a coach, because I reckon my belief is that everyone should have a coach. Everyone should, everyone needs a coach. And like when I'm working with my coach, I can't go in there and say, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I have to be open. I have to be open to opinion. I have to be open to guidance and suggestions, and open to what I call constructive criticism. Is that there's got to, but there's so many people that are in that imposter syndrome where they're reluctant to accept that, and so it becomes uncoachable.
Yes.
Because they're too frightened of that constructive criticism. They're too frightened of what will come, what will be offered up. And everyone's got something to contribute. Because a lot of the time when you're sitting in it, you can't see it.
No. That's right. You totally can't see it.
It's like the girl who goes to the loo and has the toilet paper hanging out the back and walking down the street. Someone's got to tap her on the shoulder and say, hey,
you got toilet paper, that's right.
Yeah, sort yourself out. But yeah, so it's really important, I think, to have a coach. And I think it's really important that we're open and that we're willing to, and Louise always says, out of everything, just be willing.
And I love that. I love the fact that she's, that is just something that sticks with me for a lot, for all of my journey with her, is that she just gives simple, plain advice, just simple, plain advice.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, and this probably is a little bit relevant as well, when I was listening to a podcast on her just recently, and she actually said, if you're going to turn your business into something around, she was referring to the Heal Your Life work that we both do, don't do it for the money. Do it because you love it, and then charge for your time.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And it's a totally different way of looking at it. You're looking at how the value you can bring to somebody and how that can seriously change somebody's life. And both Wendy and I use this work in our everyday life. Like we, Heal Your Life work, we use that along with others types of modalities.
Exactly, we do. And you above all, I've been very open with you about the struggle in, what is the way forward with this work, because how do I navigate who I am in all of this, because there's been so much personal change in the last couple of years, and I know what value I bring to others, and I know the value of this work, and I know the value of the other work, the other modalities as well. But it's in the simplicity, and that one little statement is that when you're working with someone, and quite often there's a chance that these people have done nothing, or they've been with others that have given them, I always say, when you're coming to work with me, I'm not the person who's going to rub you down the shoulder and say it's okay, because I'm not. Most likely you've invested a lot of money with other coaches or, with other programs. And I don't want that for you, because, I think that there's value in this work. But more importantly, the people who need our work are the people who can least afford it at times.
Yeah.
They've hit financial difficulties, they've hit relationship difficulties, they've hit personal issues that stop them from excelling in life, and that then ripples out to everything, whether it's their career, their relationships, their finances, like whatever it is. And so I really do not want to be that person that is just for them to walk away and think, oh, I just invested money there, but I'll have to go and do something else later. I want people to be able to know that it is a transformation. And so in stepping into that space, this is about that simple little phrase. Most people have never looked themselves in the mirror and said, I love you.
Yes.
But if you can add in, I'm willing to love you. It takes the needle from being really sharp to being a little bit pleasant. Not real pleasant, but it just takes the edge off. And opens the expansion, doesn't it? Opens for expansion.
What a powerful technique that is. It is just so powerful. I use that technique often with my one-on-one clients. One of the first sessions I do is I get them to do the mirror work. And that also gives me a bit of a gauge of where people are at with their self-care straight away. You can usually, that even really overrules any of your, forms that you need to complete with me, because it tells me exactly where we need to start work. Because if you can't look in yourself in the mirror and not pick yourself to pieces, but just look deep into your soul through your eyes, and just see how amazing you are and how beautiful you really are, and how deserving you are, and how abundant you are. If you can't see those, you really need to do some work. Even if you can see those, which I can. I can very easily look at you all and look at myself in this camera and say how much, Sharon, I love you. You are beautiful. You are deserving. I'm not afraid to say that, and I actually believe it with my heart.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of people that couldn't. And I couldn't when I first started doing this either. I thought that was bloody ridiculous.
I used to have this thing that's like, what if someone can hear me? And here I am in the mirror saying, I love you, Wendy, I truly love you. And how can I serve you today? And I'm thinking, but that's how we've grown up. We've grown up with this tall poppy syndrome, and you don't love you, she loves herself, as if
That's
it was
exactly
a
right.
derogatory thing.
Yes.
When it's actually an empowering thing. It's actually, I can, I've been doing this now for 30 years, so it's 30, almost 40.
Yeah.
Where I can now honestly look at myself in the mirror and see true beauty. I love who I am, and I love how beautiful I am, and I love the soul that I am. I love the service that I give. I love all of that because I love the truth that I am, and who I am. And that sort of makes it so that all the other stuff that comes up during the day where people may lash out, they may not agree with you, there might be all of that stuff, it really doesn't matter. It's just their opinion, and everyone's entitled to that. Opinions are like arseholes, everyone's got one, and so we just need to accept that. But you've got to give to yourself. You've got to treat yourself as your own best friend. I have a process with my one-on-one coaching, and that has worked brilliantly, and with the mirror work. And that is, at the start when I bring the mirror out, I want to see the energy. I want to see how they change energetically. I want to see what their reaction is, and that is, fuck.
They do totally. They, as I said, it's a very quick analysis for me. I do not need any I don't need to read their form for when they start work with me, because the mirror will tell me their whole story.
Yeah.
As in their love.
And so when I give them the mirror, we've done part of the session, and I give them the mirror, going close to the end, and I'll ask them, can you pick out just one thing that you love about your face? Like, just what is it? Like, just pick one thing. Yeah. Oh, I really like my eyes. That's great. That's really, really good. That's beautiful. Yeah. Or I love my lips. Yeah. Or, I love that I've got a button nose. Or my eyebrows are really they're really centered. And, I had one girl who'd been and had her eyebrows tattooed on, cosmetically tattooed, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, me too.
When you get to our age, when they start to disappear, it's like, oh my God.
That's so true.
Yeah, and she said, I love my eyebrows. I went and got them done, and I said, okay, so tell me a little bit more about that. Yeah. And she said, just the work that's gone in, and I said to her, and they frame your face, and your face is beautiful. And she said, oh, I didn't think about it like that, And so then the next session, when I handed the mirror, she was like really open. So it's it's part of that. Because I want to gauge, I do a 6-week program. Yes. I want to gauge from the start of the program to the end of the program how easy or difficult that is along the way. And by bringing it out at each session, you can see how, have we regressed? Have we gone forward? Have they done their growth work? How are we going in all of that? And so, it is a really powerful tool.
Brilliant. It is. And like you, I offer a number of different packages, but I do offer a 6-week. It might be an 8-week. I can't remember. And I just love how when they first start with me, they just can't even bear to look at themselves, or they burst into tears, to their last session, and they literally aren't looking at their wrinkles, or they're not picking out their things that they don't like about themselves. They're actually going, I didn't think this was going to be this easy, but I'm getting better with this every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, that's a total success.
Absolutely, it is. And to know how that is so integrated into everything in this book.
Yes.
In every sense of the word. It's like that integration is so important.
Absolutely. And, if anyone out there that's listening to this is suffering from imposter syndrome, have a look where you are on your self-love journey. And maybe it's time to go back to the beginning and just start it again. Because tomorrow is always a brand new day.
Do you know that some of the things that I've encountered with people that have been on that are in that state of imposter syndrome is that they've done some work, they've gone and learnt the thing, and then it's time to go out and teach it, but they've stopped doing the daily. They've stopped with their own self-growth every single day. And you know what? Doing this work, doing the stuff, the self-awareness stuff is not something that is one and done. It's not something that you just do once and then you don't have to do it again. It's the same as you wouldn't not clean your teeth every day. You wouldn't not have a shower every day. You wouldn't not go and do your morning ablutions every day. You know, they are the daily. They are, you do something every single day. And so when we're talking about the self-care, the meditation, the tongue scraping, the oil pulling, the yoga, the mindfulness, the good food, the movement, all of that stuff is just a demonstration of what you're willing to give and how much you're willing to love you.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And, as you first touched on, that we were told not to do it. Well, that's all. We're realizing that was wrong.
Yeah.
We're told now to do it.
Yeah.
It's important to do it. We need to keep this up. We need to nurture ourselves. We need to fill our cup first. We need to be the best version of ourselves. Look what we're going to be when we're feeling that way. How much better we're giving ourselves to others.
What you said exactly right, though, because there is, and we've had lots of discussions about this too, is that there is that fine line, because we have become a society that has been very selfish.
Yes.
That has been very self-centered. But what we're talking about with self-love is that it is about filling your cup so that you can give to others, because it is about service. It's about being the whole giving thing is far more important, but you can't give quality from an empty cup. You can't you can't give quality from a shitty vessel. So you've got to make sure that your vessel is taken care of, and then what you give out is you're serving from the right place. You're serving from a very genuine, good quality, meaningful place, not from somewhere, because ultimately, if it's the imposter syndrome and you're doing the one and done, and it's, it becomes more, and people pick it up.
Yeah.
The truth. They pick it up that, well, she's just like, it's all about the money.
Yes.
I need to have money, so I need clients, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. And I always say it's like being in the pool. Go into a pool and start to do this and see what happens. But the water's just going chaotic, like you splash and shit everywhere.
Yeah.
But if you go into the pool and you're going like this, it's nice and it's controlled, and it's very much you're pulling into yourself. And that's the difference between, being needy and practicing the art of allowing. And practicing the art of allowing is walking your talk and attracting, rather than being a very needy, I need these people because I need the money, or I'm attracting these people because of what I can do in the world.
I can only imagine that I need these people just because of the money. I would hate to, for a start, I'd hate to work in that way, but I could only imagine, I would wonder if you're attracting even the right person for you if you're working that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. The person, we are, the vibe attracts the tribe.
Yeah, that's right.
And so if you have not got your most authentic vibe out there of who you'd really love to work with, of course you're not going to attract those people. That's going to be, you'll be willing to take anyone.
Absolutely.
And quite often, it might be that there's a level of taking people that don't respect you.
Unfortunately, that can happen, can't it? You end up, and then it comes back around to the fact that it's the big vicious circle, isn't it? Where you're then not getting the results that you want, or they're not getting the results that they want, and then again you then look at yourself because you're feeling like the imposter, and it just really is
Why aren't I good enough? Why,
Yeah.
why don't they see me good enough? Why? Yeah.
It really
Exactly.
is. I mean, I all I can say is, I mean, there's some really great things I've pulled out of today's podcast, Wendy, and that is, get yourself a life coach. We're not saying come to Wendy and I. That's not what we're saying at all. We're
No.
saying get yourself a life coach. I actually have had, I work with Wendy. I also work with Tony Robbins and Dean Graciasi in their mastermind group. So I do some work in Chris Carr's. But I work one-on-one, well, not one-on-one, but I work in the group face-to-face with Wendy with my business. I'm growing in all aspects of my life. You've got to find someone that works for you. Wendy works for me. I have grown so much. And I'm not, plugging Wendy because that's what we're trying to do right now. I'm plugging Wendy because I'm genuinely saying to you, go and find that person who works for you. Find that person and work with them. And I promise you will, if you get the right person that works for you, the growth in you will be worth every cent you've spent, and it'll be worth celebrating the changes and the way you feel.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And it's having that someone who understands you. I have a lady in the US that she just gets me. She just gets me, and it's beautiful.
That's right.
Time zones is a bit of a pain in the ass, I can tell you, but she gets me, and she makes time for me. She makes it so that it's at a reasonable time that we can both connect.
Yes.
Whereas, she delivers for her other clients over there in normal regular hours, but she makes the time for me. And that's
it's brilliant because you feel valued as well.
Well, it is about feeling valued, and it's about the fact that she it's what she wants to deliver, and it's why I've connected with her.
That's right. And even when I work with my clients, they're my priority. When I'm with them, they're my priority. I'm working with them for that reason, to make sure that they're feeling the best version of themselves. I don't want a client that I can't make feel totally different from when they've had that hour session with me. I'm not interested in that. I want to be able to, whether you're feeling good or whether you're feeling bad, I want you to feel better or good, whatever happens. If you're feeling bad, I want you to feel good. If you're feeling good, I want you to feel better.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be doing when you're working with your coach. So you need to work out, if you're considering a coach, however that works for you, do it, because I swear by having a coach, it was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah. And, from my perspective, and where I'm coming from here, is also about getting, I want to build a directory here in Australia of business coaches and coaching people, so that people, and we may feature some of those people on the podcast going forward, but it's about someone in our time zone that you're paying Australian dollars that resonates with.
Challenging, especially with the American dollar the way it is now.
Well, and it's about the culture. Our culture is very different here in Australia. We've had probably, and the greatest thing for me, the most evident for me, has been in multi-level marketing. Now, I have a long history in multi-level marketing, and I love it because I believe that I get better value out of someone who takes the time to get educated and has my best interests at heart, rather than getting paid appearance money to turn up somewhere and be forced to sell something like that. That to me is very genuine. But in America, they have, we know that Utah is, the home of multi-level marketing in America. But there's my friends in the US who are a part of my organization. They have a very different way of doing business than what we do here in Australia.
Yeah.
And it is because they haven't, it's a different culture.
It is.
It's a very, over there, that's something that's widely accepted. Here, it's something that's not, you have to really, people have to know you and know the genuineness that you are. But we have tall poppy syndrome, which is comes back to the imposter syndrome. But that's how we've been raised, and that's from school. It's from workplaces. Well, don't be a big no-no, like, someone who gets appointed into a role, pardon me, at a workplace that, other people feel that is unjust.
Yeah,
that they should have got it first. Well, there's a real pulling down because mechanics in there is that they want to make, rather than just get past it, they want to make life difficult.
Absolutely.
So I just believe that in Australia we have a different culture. And so I want to build that database of people so if you're looking for a coach in a specific area, do reach out, because I've probably got someone on my list already that is going to be featured, somewhere on a website or in here in the podcast. But be able to give you the ability to have that maximum
have
return,
that connection.
Yeah, and a return on investment where you're not having to think, oh my God, I can't afford it because it's US dollars.
That's exactly right. And there's, once you work with a coach as well, you just totally grow. And I can't believe where I've been in this short time, and where I've come from and where I'm going when it comes to my business. And I'm just ever so grateful that I've had this journey. And that really does help you work with your imposter syndrome, because you aren't an imposter. You're you, and you just got to really find out who that is.
Yeah, but the imposter syndrome, whilst it's about work or business or whatever it is, in actual fact, that's shit. It actually is how you are in life.
That's exactly right.
And so just having yourself a life coach, is where that comes up, where, you don't feel worthy enough, you don't feel good enough, you don't feel capable.
You won't spend that money on yourself. That is often a big thing as well. Yeah.
Yep. And I understand, the economics of all of this and helping people with starting websites and whatever, that money is not plentiful. I understand that.
Absolutely.
So you have to get the best bang for your buck. You really do.
Yes, and which is why I'm saying find the right coach for you.
Yeah.
There's plenty out there, which is probably a great way to wrap this session up, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be back with another great talking point, because this is absolutely
our conversation just rolls.
Yeah, it is. And
they will intertwine, and that's who we are. And
it is about real life experience and what we can help you resolve or bring to the table. We want to add value, and this is the best way to do it. So for us to help you, we'd love you to help us, and that's by hitting subscribe.
And the beautiful part about subscription is you can then even ask us questions, and we can maybe bring those questions to the show.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you, Sharon, for another great session. And how exciting is this? It's like, I'm really loving that we're getting to have these, and they're just real conversations.
They absolutely are real conversations.
So have a wonderful week, and we'll be talking shortly.
Bye for now.